Hello, dear art friends. I am glad that you are joining us again, that you have tuned in, and that we can now devote ourselves to a new episode. The conversation that I will soon present to you was not quite as easy. Not for me, but I think not for my guest either, Fawzy El Emrany. Fawzy is a Palestinian painter, born in the Gaza Strip. At the beginning of October last year, he had planned for the first time to show his children, show the grandparents in Palestine, and had planned the trip, but then Hamas struck. The conversation was not easy for me, because I was unsure about what I was allowed or able to ask him without possibly triggering a trauma. And of course, the conversation was also not very easy for Fawzy. After all, he has been influenced and traumatized by war for over 20 years, almost 26 years, and that of course has left its mark. These traces of the war experiences we also see in pictures. So he paints a picture with oranges lying on a table. And then we need to know that in his childhood, oranges were plentifully distributed throughout the country because they were an export good for the country. But the oranges, they disappeared a long time ago, displaced by the war in his country. So listen here to the conversation with the painter Fawzy El Emrany, who combines the experiences of the Orient with the Occident in his paintings, follows socio-political themes, and exhibits worldwide. A fine person who opens up and grants us insight. I want to mention that we do not judge, except that we are generally against war and violence. What makes the art scene tick? Everything we always wanted to know about art. A podcast by and with Petra Lawson. Hello, Fawzy El Emrany. I am glad that we can talk, even though you have a bit of a cold, as you say. But you are almost as hard to catch as the Pope, as we like to say. And that's why I am so thrilled that you are sitting down with me to record this despite your cold. Yes, thank you very much, Petra, for this opportunity. It's great that it finally worked out. We had, I think, planned it once or twice, and I was then traveling in Egypt. Exactly. Yes, you're on the road a lot. Yes, quite a bit. And now, it's really a great opportunity. But look, I'm also having a cold today. Yet we're still doing this because I'm just very interested. I'm really looking forward to your questions and arguments. Yes, that's great. And besides, I think it's still good. I mean, if you were really sick now, of course, we wouldn't do this. But it's still good because you currently have an exhibition in Zurich. But we'll talk about that later. Fawzy, you are a painter. Do you only paint? Only in Genswischen? Or do you also make sculptures? I have maybe only made a sculpture once in my life. So, okay. That was, I can say, you are a painter. I am a painter. Or exactly, I can call myself that. A painter. But in my long career, I have also done photography. I have done art. I have done video art. Made installation art too, and exhibited. But, actually, I am mainly a painter. I paint pictures, and that's really my passion. Actually, yes, exactly. We will be talking about that today as well. I must admit, I'm a little bit excited because you come from the Gaza Strip in Palestine. That's where you were born and raised, and you have. Al-Najah. Al-Najah. That's a great name. Al-Najah National University in Nablus. Yes. Ort Giebichenstein. That doesn't sound quite so nice anymore. What a difference in naming.
What kind of...
Yes. Yes, that's how it is. Yes, that's a big difference. So, from the name alone, also in size, because the Najah National University, or Najah University, it is a large university with various faculties. Additionally, it also includes the Faculty of Arts or Academy of Arts. I was one of the second generation to study there. Ah, okay. Quite recent, right? Exactly. That's because I'm talking about the time when Gaza was still under Israeli occupation. West Bank too. We'll get to that in a moment. I just wanted to quickly say that I have a bit of respect because sometimes I throw out questions that might somehow be inappropriate or something. Yes, I'm just so curious. No, it's okay, Petra. It's actually fine because I think we can get a lot out of this if you ask many questions. Yes. Then let's continue. Yes. Well, I don't want to step on anyone's toes. And the second point is why I have respect for this conversation is, let's say, I am simply not a Middle East expert and I don't know many backgrounds. And I hope you'll forgive me that, it's legitimate. Just Petra. It's no problem. Yes, I know. I actually experience this often too. That I have lived here in Europe for many years, have spent almost half of my life here, spent in Germany and Switzerland. And it always happens. People who simply never understood or never had anyone. What actually? Is that, do I even know? What is an Arab country? What is an Islamic country? And that is always, yes. There's always Confucius. Oh, really? Yes. Yes? Okay. Yes. Good. That's confusing. I understand. Yes. The people who think Afghanistan or Pakistan are Arab countries, but that's just not true. These are countries. Islamic countries. Also, Iran is not an Arab country either. It is simply an Islamic country. Exactly. And we have simply, yes, indeed, there are 21 Arab countries. They are, we just won't go into geography. But they are actually North African countries up to Iraq. Exactly. Palestine, Syria, Lebanon, and Jordan. And then a bit south of Egypt, Sudan. Those are Arab countries that we can mention. And he is not Arab Islamic. Yes, so now we are already in the middle of it. You have lived in Europe for about 27 years. No, less. I came to Germany in 1997 with a student visa. Fortunately, I didn't have to take a boat and risk my life. No.
Oh God.
At that time, there was also a representative office for the German embassy in Gaza. It was then moderated by a German woman who was married to a Palestinian, Dr. Abu Zita. And she has an office there, in Gaza. A really nice office, actually a house, with a beautiful garden. And it serves as a representative office for the German embassy in Tel Aviv. And there you could also take language courses, attend language courses, and all the necessary documents for a visa were processed there, to submit. And yes, how long was that? How long did the visa take? The visa took a while. So how long were you allowed to stay in Europe? 3 months I lasted. Only 3 months. Exactly. That was just classic at the German embassy back then. They just give only I just don't want to tell the whole thing. But I believe it was a maximum 3-month stay in Germany. And extension would then take place. If the person who has this 3 months, still a residence confirmation and a registration, a certain educational institution in Germany to provide proof. If they provide it, then there is simply a 6-month extension process, and it keeps increasing. So it always actually increases this visa. Yes? Okay. Yes, makes sense. And then you first went to Germany and then studied at the Burg-Giebichenstein University of Art. Exactly. And then, when did you go to... When did you then come to Zurich? Now you live in Zurich. Yes, 2011, Petra. I just went to Zurich and yes. Was the visa situation difficult there too? Or did you change your citizenship? Or I had the German one. Exactly. I had the German citizenship. Yes, exactly. And that made things a lot easier for me. Yes, totally. Yes, yes. You know, I'm also German. And I know exactly what you mean. Exactly. Right. But it's always interesting. The Burg-Giebichenstein is actually a highly regarded art academy, art university in Halle. There are actually 2 in competition in Leipzig and in Halle. And I believe they were both founded at the same time. Yes. And I know it is actually in Burg-Giebichenstein as well. The entrance exam lasts 3 days. And it's extremely difficult to get in. In any case, I did my master's there with Professor Thomas Rugg. And he was a professor at the Faculty of Graphics, Painting, Graphics in Alta Ruhr,
Here.
in Belgium. And exactly. And back then I had a first conversation with him and showed him what I had done so far in art. And showed all my documents. And he agreed to take me on as a student.
Yes.
A master's student. Or what you call advanced studies. Right?
Yes.
It was really his master's program. Because I spent 3.5 years on it. In Halle. Very intensive time. Extremely sociable. Also very artistic and active in art itself. Yes. Produced a lot of art in those years. And I am very proud of that time. Yes, great. That makes me happy. But let's start from the very beginning. How did you even come to art? This is also always. There are almost repeated events that lead to someone simply choosing art. And that usually begins in school, right? Then you, or actually your classmates, notice that you somehow have a talent. You can better at drawing animals or faces or people, and then they actually draw your attention or awaken your attention to your own talent, which you simply don't know. But that was actually the case for me. I didn't know I was simply better at it than others until I then from my teachers and heard from my classmates, wow, can you help me make such a beautiful drawing too? And Petra just grows. The whole, yes, exactly, interest. Yes, but you had no, in quotation marks, predisposition from the family, like your parents. No, in my family, directly from my family, there was none. But there was an artist, very well known in Bazina, Kamal Al-Mohani. He passed away, unfortunately, years ago. And later, my professor at the Art Academy in Ilneja, National University. He is from a different family, but comes from the same neighborhood as me.
Yes.
My mother comes from another family, from his family, so the family of Kamil El Morani. And there is a certain image, mirror image. Yes, there's an artist, well known, and sells his art very well. It's also important to mention that. It was actually with us considered that if someone studies engineering or medicine instead of art. Art at the time I started, it was not the subject of discussion. How can you then earn money from your art? So, there were always practical thoughts in the background and considerations from the family that simply supports you later. in that sense. But I was just lucky because Cameron Morny, who was also a professor at the Academy of Arts in Nabelos, always held exhibitions there repeatedly. His art sold, and also articles about him in the newspaper and on television. Exactly. The point that actually supported me in deciding to study art later, you know, when I completed my high school exams. Yes. May I ask, at that time, you were already an adult when you left. When you came to Europe, after your studies, at that time, things were already difficult with the war happenings in the country, right? How did you experience that, if I may ask? Yes, of course. Well, I was born 1 year after the Six-Day War, so in 1968, you know. And 1 year before that, Israel took occupation of Gaza, West Bank, and Jerusalem and Sinai as well.
Yes.
You know, exactly. So I was actually born right in the middle of the occupations. Such occupations. Military occupation. I mean, a military occupation and not a civilian occupation. So all of what was actually conducted in Gaza was done by the soldiers. That is, the army, the Israeli army. Of course, I experienced that firsthand, especially the first Intifada, the 1986 happened. That is 7 years of street fighting against these soldiers who were simply everywhere throughout Gaza. I experienced all of this, and it is not easy. Such a situation with essentially uncertain, uncertain situation. There was control, constant control, not just at the border, but also inside life, your life or family life.
Yes.
You never have the feeling that you can find some calm and build something without obstacles, or the worry that it will be disrupted, being taken away. And that was always the case. The feeling always, you are constantly on the edge, You really can't build something for yourself or for someone else. This uncertainty, I carried it with me, even here in Europe. That shaped you, right? Totally. I was 26 years old when I first traveled from Gaza to Europe. So, 26 years, that's of course a lot of experience. Large, many experiences that I went through. Not only in Gaza, but also in the West Bank, where I did my first studies. I did. That was also complicated, incredibly complicated. Because I just said that was 1986, was the first, right? And exactly 1 year before that, I finished my high school diploma. And then I was in the first 2 third semesters in Nablus. That's a city, actually must be there. Almost through the border, the Israeli border, there is a checkpoint called Ares, checkpoints between Israel and Gaza. And you always have to go through this border. It is always checked, asking, where are you going? What do you want to do there? And there were also mistakes where they simply wouldn't send you back, or you would just stand there at the border for hours, simply under rain or sun, without a reason. You simply have to wait there, I'm talking about uncertainty. Yes, life is so uncertain. It's not just me who has lived it, and I carried it. That is, almost every Palestinian carries it, actually, whether in the diaspora or in Palestine itself. It's, the feeling that you're never safe, right? You're never safe. Is that also the reason why you stayed in Europe? Yes, concretely. Yes, that's not conscious. Yes, maybe unconsciously this reason. I
Yes.
need a psychiatrist who can maybe analyze me out of there. Klaus, we all need psychiatrists. Yes. I mean, maybe my art is actually also my way.
Yes, exactly.
And that is what needs to be worked out. Of course, we will talk about that in a moment. Do you still go to your country? No, please. It's been
Yes.
15 years since I was last there.
Oh,
Of course, there were circumstances where I simply had to build my life here. Family.
yes.
I have 2 children,
Yes.
and that was not easy. You always have to think and consider. And I say again, this uncertainty and insecurity that I carry within me probably also leads that I think 10 times about which path I take and what time. So this constant, even today here in Zurich, for example, of course. Wow, yes. Yes, that's right. That's naturally just a trauma. Yes, you could say that. Maybe the morning is over, but I can talk about it. Thankfully, right? Yes. So if it gets too much for you, just say, no, it's all good, Petra. All good. Well, living in a war zone for 26 years, that's really something. And yes, do you notice that? There is a lot to ask. There is.
Yes.
A lot to ask. And yes, as I said, I realize that I am unsure because I don't want to ask the wrong thing. I don't want to be insensitive and so on. I'm an open person despite everything. But for me, it is really a question that, when it touches me so closely, then I'll let you know. That's simple. Have your children ever been to the Gaza Strip? Unfortunately not. Because. Well, I had waited. So I have Salma, I have Jacob. And Salma, they will be 11 in January, and Jacob is 7.
Yes,
I waited
okay.
for them to become a little more independent, so I could simply go to Gaza with them. That is, it should actually be a important experiences and lessons for you. So, a very good tip. Yes, but not dangerous. Also, that's why I always delayed it, Peter, until I simply made the decision. And I even bought my plane ticket and planned everything. That was actually planned this year, 2024, in the spring. Yes, exactly. So, and it happened. Exactly 7th of October is when it connected. So before the 7th of October, I then everything too checked, planned, and chose the date. That was not. Then I even didn't inform all of my family. I just wanted to surprise them with the visit.
Yes.
The parents still live there. Yes. Everyone is in Gaza. Yes. Unfortunately, everything went down the drain. No. Yes. Could they ever come here? Invite someone here as a guest. There's a bunch of documents and tasks that you have to complete and prove.
Aha. Yes, understand.
And this is really not bothersome to do. So I actually asked my office here before what I need for when I bring my brother or my mother here.
Yes.
They gave me such a form. And for the most part, they also have to fill it out themselves in Gaza and also bring it to the embassy. How do you simply get to an embassy? Because this representative office no longer exists in Gaza, right? You should know yourself. It is no longer there. Yes. Okay. So where do they have to go then? More likely to Tel Aviv.
Yes. And then, yes, I understand.
That's not possible either? I mean, exactly. Or the reason why none of them have visited until now.
How would you describe the themes of your painting? Before I answer this question, I just want to argue something here. Namely, so half of my life I spent in Gaza, and the other half here in Germany and Europe in general and Switzerland. These are two influences that affect my life tremendously. So I am an open person, a very liberal person. I have long distanced myself from faith.
Yes, generally about religion. Generally. Welcome to the club.
And I am, thank you. Yes, I decided, and the decision was actually not made here in Europe, but actually in Gaza, yes. When I had the opportunity in Gaza to read books and novels by well-known authors like Naguib Mahfouz, to be able to read. So there was a library in Gaza. There was one with a few books, and that was great. I always borrowed and read books. And he influenced me extremely. Also, I'm talking about an author, a Syrian author named Hannah Mina, who completely influenced my way of thinking. I was 15, 16, 18, and that really brought my attention to belief. What understanding for belief is to a completely new stage, which actually I'm very glad that it just happened to me like this. I have not seen the world only through one channel. I see the world everywhere, hundreds of thousands of channels, The objectivity simply, the subjectivity with the... In any case, it was actually important for me to mention this because of these two weights, meaning half in Gaza, the other half here in Europe. I approached this culture, the European culture, very openly, very not closed. That is probably because of my basic foundation, which I have simply built throughout. No, I distance myself from things that just have to or can influence me, like writings or verses. And you can often see that in my art. So I actually always follow topics like socio-political themes. So I don't think... So, okay, I am Palestinian. I can never erase that. I cannot deny it. I am Palestinian, born there, raised there. I have my family there, my roots, they were. Only the kick here between Gaza and Europe, which always seems to appear involuntarily in my images, Often there is a gap in my images, like a separation.
But also attention.
Attention and the gap.
Yes, exactly.
Somehow you see it in two worlds in the...
Yes, I will later. I picked out a few pictures that I would like to discuss with you. And then we can take a closer look at them.
Well, I paint pictures, and my love is for large surfaces. I enjoy working with large surfaces, or on large surfaces, instead of small ones. Although in the last 2 or 3 years, I have also tried medium size, small formats again, but my passion is really large surfaces. I don't know. I feel freer, like this white canvas, when it spans in front of me.
I completely understand that.
Do you understand that? So I measure
Yes,
that
exactly. Yes. I admire painters who manage to paint on small canvases. For me, it's even like that. Yes.
I don't know. So there are definitely some psychological tendencies back there. Like how you can do that in a small format, express oneself so extremely, yes. And the other, no, he needs a huge one. So I'll just leave that to the experts' analysis. So I definitely feel freer with this comparison as a physical individual standing in front of such a large screen. So there are more dimensions for me.
You have to feel it, right?
Well, I work on a job not constantly. So I go and come back, you know. Also, it's important to mention here, I do not prepare my pictures.
Yes, I read that. You don't make sketches, right?
Great, it's already working.
So?
Let's observe first.
You just paint now for the listeners who don't know you yet. You don't paint abstract, you do paint representational, but also, may I say this, containing surrealistic elements.
Yes. Well, if you tell me more symbolism, actually ambiguous, that the elements I use or paint in my work.
And you go straight onto the canvas with the
Directly.
oil.
Directly, exactly. I do this, it's never a sketch, press sketch or anything.
Do you know why that is?
Yes, no, maybe
Or
if
is
I
it subconscious?
now, when you ask this question, Petra, then at the beginning I talked about uncertain, right? Yes, well, I associate that with the uncertain. So it is
Yes,
in my
I
uncertain.
understand.
Do you understand the thing
Yes,
there? Well,
yes.
exactly. And that is actually you're uncertain. What I simply transfer onto the canvas, right? Or try to understand.
Before we specifically discuss the images, I would be interested in the reaction of the people around you. Once when they hear you are Palestinian, and once how they react to your works. Are people open, or do you also experience resentments?
That has many things. Yes.
Okay.
I have rarely experienced such openness. Unfortunately, I mean,
Yes, very
I
unfortunately.
think so too. It is then one simply distances oneself from the real an
Dishes?
impression occurs. And they say, well, I mean, I have also heard from one or two people who said, oh, your pictures look dark, you know. Then I naturally asked, why is it dark? But it's also confirmed. Logically, yes. There are often quite suddenly dark colors in my pictures. But not that I want to make it gloomy, but it probably comes, as I said, always, it comes in the process itself. Although there are also cheerful colors, yellow or red, in the combinations in the images. But usually there is also an image compilation. The composition of the image is also quite gloomy. So and maybe it's not. That's not my will. But that's actually how it comes. And I can't change it because I say that's my art.
Exactly. Yes,
Exactly. Yes. Openness, unfortunately, is not emphasized so much among the people who
Fawzy, do you think that's fair?
respect. So we have
From Lloyd?
It's not fear, but just, for the people. So just like you just measure yourself simply approximately 1 meter distance from others so that it simply doesn't enter your circle, like into your aura circle there. Or exactly, people are very cautious. They often ask themselves, should I ask that? Should I? Yes, I have experienced that too. I understand because you simply don't want to hurt anyone. You don't want to appear foolish. Yes, or it's not just about being hurt. It's simply about fear, the reaction from the others. So you just kind of, yes, I just had the word fear.
I would just rather not say something now that triggers and, yes, hurts you. For me, it is hurtful. These are the difficulties we have talked about. But now, I would like to know, have you seen or learned over the years to see a way to discover and find to promote Palestinian history and culture, art, through your images here with us? Is that like also a bit like processing?
Yes. That is, I must say, a process. There is a personal character. Well, I love art, I like painting, and I also enjoy viewing art. And art is a door. Yes, many doors that could simply be opened and offered to people, you know. Just go in, enter, and touch, look, engage. And that is the door that I actually keep opening through my art. I simply ask questions through my paintings. I ask my questions, and I hope that people also can read, and Mendelssohn themselves can receive an answer. And that is a process that will never end, Petra. That is
Yes,
a
I believe
process
you
that,
too. Yes.
yes, it will never end. Exactly. And that's what I promote for artistic paradigms. I have already done a lot in Gaza. Difficulties, also the danger that I and other students from Gaza had to face. Simply finding secret ways to Nablus, using unauthorized roads that were just for settlers. I'm talking about the 90s, yes, Petra, not now. So it's the same story, but has become even more extreme. Yes, we should. We even must hide in the car at night so that we can reach our study place and not get arrested because we are looking for our place at our
Unimaginable.
university.
Such a situation, yes.
And then after that, 94, I then returned to Gaza and taught art in 3 different places there at the same time. And a large part of these people I taught later enrolled in the art academy and studied art either in the country or abroad. And now, some of them are even internationally famous. Yes, living abroad. And that is what I have planted. Or you could say, I simply had a big,
No
a
time.
small, or played scooters, right? I think that's great. So that's one who has done it. Yes, it's logical because there is this exchange between me and also artists who still live in Gaza. And this exchange happens repeatedly. So they ask me for my opinion, how it is, their work, but logically, I am not an art critic. I can only do things. How I understand it, and how through my artistic life experience, what I then learned, also what I heard, what I saw, that is all the input that I have within me that I pass on. But specifically here in Switzerland or in Europe, it is actually rather limited, the opportunities, let's say, for artists in general. I simply don't want to touch on the topic here because maybe you know what I mean actually regarding the art world. Very controlled, so and manipulable, So we just need to determine that now, right? Or anchor it now, right? Because it is, there are also good things. So just now, I was at the Biennale in Venice. I only returned on Monday evening, and I was there from Friday to Monday. The theme was, maybe you've also read, it was
Yes, we were.
Foreigner Everywhere. The theme was brilliant, super. So for the first time in many years, you have a curator who invites unknown artists, but on a large scale, not just one or two. Madness, fantastic, I think. It's simply a perspective for the artists who would never have the opportunity to show their art.
Yes.
And in such a place, well known and popular with, yes, visitors, that exists. And I hope that things like this will always happen, even on a small scale. I mean, that is if, yes.
I was just thinking about the theme of your pictures, whether they affect the understanding for the people who look at them, your pictures. So let's take the opportunity now to focus directly on a picture. For example, I'm talking about the unknown soldier. The picture is 2 meters 10 by 145 in size. You paint in oil. Exactly. And that was painted in 2019. I can briefly, the people can't see it now if they hear us. I see a sky tinged in red. That could mean there is a fire. I see a woman with a slip dress. She holds a sword in her hand. One might think the sword is drenched in blood. The woman looks like a warrior. She has very short cropped hair. She is a beautiful woman. She has to me, yeah, it looks like a piece of cloth, as if she is opening a plastic. So pulling the cloth from a covered plastic. She is still standing on a pedestal. I see a child at the bottom right, who has its eyes covered. It is walking, holding its hands in front of it, because it doesn't know where to run, and does. I see what is it? What is the animal in the foreground at the bottom called? Chameleon. On the left is a chameleon. Yes. So that's the rough outline. And I have the impression that there's a lot of subject matter in that picture. Would you like to tell us what the background is? And I can imagine that if we understand it, we might learn to understand a completely different issue through your picture.
Exactly. So the meaning of unknown soldier or the unknown soldier. Actually, this is not a private issue or anything. It is really a topic concerning many nations around the world. Do you want to provide a link for soldiers who died for waters? Yes, proud. You just make a monument for them, but you don't see it on the monument. Exactly the details of somehow a soldier or a leader or, it's that the passion of those follows say, yes, we honor the deceased who had no name or are unknown, but still fought for our rights. We had one like that in Gaza, Petra. A memorial like that, yes, exactly, such a central place in Gaza, with a beautiful garden around it and such a sculpture, like a soldier holding his weapon and pointing in a direction with his hand. So, sure, there is a lot of symbolism in this matter. So the first thing I mentioned is actually what it means, unknown soldier. I used it to, so here for something later. So talking about the background, very fiery, perhaps something combative in the background, plus the woman who dresses in a very modern, open way is holding a sword in her hand and simultaneously veils the monument. That's actually...
She hides it. It's exactly the opposite.
Very well,
Okay.
an honor.
A bit like a goddess, right?
Yes, exactly. A Greek goddess, perhaps, something similar. And the child with the bound eye, we had in Gaza, or actually everywhere there is also this, but this game where you blindfold yourself and
Yes.
a hiding game, right? Yes, exactly. And actually, that's the game the child always liked to play, hide and seek.
Yes, I wrote that too.
And we very often stumbled, yes, fell
Yes,
flat
yes,
on
that's
our
part of it.
faces. Because of family, yes, we got back up again. So this combination between the monument or the unknown soldier and this game, between the elements or the meaning. About the game, I mean hide and seek. So that's actually what I meant.
Yes, exactly. Yes, the child is also fine. The child is depicted in bright colors, as if somewhat untouched by the things around it. Right.
What you there? Yes, purity. Yes, yes.
Yes, the purity. Exactly. Another image that also impressed me is the dividing. It is 1 meter 94 by 84 in landscape format.
Exactly. That is a width.
Exactly.
He means it's across.
Exactly. And we see on the right side 2 women. One, the woman on the left, has headphones, like we do now. Is she in a podcast or something? Yes. Yes. Maybe. I want to talk to her. And then we have a woman next to her who is a bit smaller, a bit in the background, touches her on the arm, looks like maybe it's her mother. Looks a bit older than the woman in front. Very good. And the 2 are standing behind a table. Are those flowers or fruits in front of them?
That is correct.
These are fruits. And it looks like the young woman in the foreground with the headphones just divided this pile.
Yes.
This
That's
heap of fruits.
2 grains. Yes,
Exactly. We
yes. There is also a knife.
Yes,
There is
there's a
also
knife,
of
right?
course. Yes, yes.
When it
You can
cuts.
see something there. Mhm. Yes, exactly. And also the knife is a symbolism for this cut. So vulnerable.
Yes.
Yes.
And
For the
injured.
fruits.
And injury and injure, right?
Injured, exactly. Yes. And that's actually, that's a, maybe not quite clear because
Yes, exactly.
the area is small. It's oranges. Oranges are fruit trees that were, well, let's say maybe 80% of the area of Gaza was full. Unfortunately, now nothing remains.
Oh,
because,
yeah.
Yes, these fruit trees were always systematically destroyed. No idea why it is like that.
Was that an export item?
Very good.
So,
yes, very
did
good.
Gaza escort
Yes,
that,
yes.
I fear?
Zaza had exactly earlier, yes. In any case, it is a symbol for me. So it's these fruits, these oranges. When I was a child, I often played in the fields with my friends. And always harvesting and eating fruits, there is a certain connection for me.
Yes. I totally understand if the whole country was full of orange trees and now it's all gone. Yes. What I don't understand is the left side. Yes. Yes. Of the picture. It's dark. Much darker.
Yes. At the beginning, I talked about these 2 weights, the times I experienced in Gaza and here. And here, you can clearly see it, everything else actually in this world. There's this separation, this line. Almost like there's a line. There
Yes,
are 2
exactly.
bright areas, the beds, so right and left. So more light in the background and dark on the left side. And there you can see on the left side, very subtly, some houses, stairs, maybe a military vehicle, somehow simply drawn under the whole background.
And seeing a balloon like a flying balloon, is that it, right?
Yes, there are also balloons and a bit of science fiction, a bit of a war background. So it looks like, alien elements, basically, just in the background. But that's a fantasy, my own fantasy in this world. But actually important, what's happening in the foreground, and dividing this pile of oranges. Exactly. Each one has the same amount on the right and left, and a woman who is whispering. The woman on the left is perhaps whispering or trying to encourage the other
Yes.
woman with the headphones to do it or to calm her down. Yes, you have the
Yes,
right
yes,
eyes
yes,
there.
yes, exactly,
You made the
exactly.
right
Yes.
choice with the just now. And that is actually what really plays out here. What we encounter people, what we understand about possessing. Yes. And that's exactly the issue here. And how can we give something of what we own? And how far can we give something? It's simply put. So actually, but as I said here, it's also a very socio-political theme that I follow in my images.
Yes. When you start painting, you say you don't sketch. How do you start? Do you already have the picture in your mind's eye? Or do you begin by putting color down? Because having the white canvas in front of you and not making sketches, that's not so easy. That's not so simple. Do I imagine it now? But I'm not a painter. How do you start there? So I tell you, Petra, it's actually like this. My canvas, unfortunately, due to a lack of time, I don't prime it myself. But there is canvas, you can stretch it on a stretcher frame. Then you can also prime the silver. Well, we have a very special mixture, primer, but I buy it for that reason. I buy the high quality primed canvas. That means it is actually primed. I just had to stretch it onto a stretcher frame.
And then I have a white surface. And and this is the primer. Anyone who is involved in painting can understand that. When you paint over it with oil or crayon, the color just absorbs quickly. And then it quickly becomes matte or doesn't work. The color doesn't flow with it. That's why I don't know what the other artist does, but I first use a big brush to apply a layer of color on the white. But not only. So this process starts here with me. That means when I then take the color, I don't just take one color, I take several colors, and I simply create a mix of surfaces. And that's when, so to speak, it lights up for me at that moment.
Yes. That's like an incorporation of the space, right? The image of the space.
Exactly. The word incorporation I hear it just like that first. Thank you. But it is great. Incorporation.
Oh, does that fit?
Yes.
Okay.
Incorporation.
Yay.
Yes, that is exactly. That's how it actually works. And then basically step by step, because I said I don't always stay on one painting. I also paint simultaneously on other paintings. So I usually have 2 paintings, 3 paintings that I work on. And those are the ones I work on. And yes, that is also important.
I'll tell that.
Petra, I am a person who always observes. So I observe, I listen, I smell, I analyze. Even when I walk, while eating, while talking, fortunately, I have these traits that I like to use. And that is everything I experience daily. Yes, somehow a part of them flows into my paintings.
Yes,
so repeatedly, and that's just this process. So that means the process never ends, and often I just come with new feelings and change the whole painting. So that is not yet standing there. Yes. So a large part is I erase that or paint over it, or and until a certain moment, then I simply reach the point where I can no longer add anything.
Yeah, that's a feeling, right?
Yes, exactly. And the feeling, it's always irritating
Yes.
for me too, because
That is still interesting.
Exactly.
Yes.
because I am almost never satisfied with each picture until I close it off, until it is complete. I feel like I can always add more, do more. It's a delicate, irritating situation, but I always have to make a decision. And hitting this target, that's sometimes difficult for me, but yes.
Yes,
I can understand that. Yes, so when you realize it starts to really stumble, then it's actually like you can't add anything anymore. Something resists within you.
Yes, exactly. That's something. Then it feels like something isn't as this. The image doesn't need no more engagement. So the engagement in the image is already achieved.
Yes, exactly. Yes.
But sometimes I just stand there too. I am the creator who is the world.
Yes.
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 And I mean,
yes. Because you
this
did
character
it,
standing there.
Now,
is it a new character that simply fights with me? Simply with me? Who seeks the conflict? Right?
but you know what, Fawzy? When I hear what you're describing, I can also imagine that it's very difficult, not always, but sometimes hard, to explain what you did there.
Total.
Yes.
Full.
Okay.
Special.
Then talking about it with me was a challenge for you now, right?
Yes.
At least about the images.
Do you notice
Yes.
it? Do you notice
Yes.
that? So that it also, even if I don't like to
great
talk
that
about
you
my
did it
pictures, even if
anyway.
I know, yes, I mean, on Friday morning at 6 o'clock, the exhibition and that. Yes, people will definitely ask, what
Yeah.
did you do again?
Yeah.
That is,
Yeah.
yeah, I just need to
You
take
have
a look
to-
at it.
You have to step up. Or other drugs listen, then it will be fine.
But that's good too. It goes,
Yes.
okay.
You mentioned you have an event tomorrow evening in the Gasse in Zurich, in a gallery that I know very well. I've done various exhibitions there, which this one is not organized by me. Unfortunately, I won't make it until tomorrow. Tomorrow is the 27th of September. I won't be able to publish this podcast. So edit, mix, and so on, add
But-
music and such. I won't be able to do that. But tell me, how long does this exhibition go on in
Until
the...
October 8th. in
Okay,
Zurich.
okay.
But this is a traveling exhibition. It will also be shown in Berlin.
Yes, when
New
is
York.
that in Berlin?
So, not specifically, but that would actually be up to the curator who already, but actually, according to that, probably mid-October, if I'm not mistaken. Mid-October or the end of October will be in Berlin.
Okay, end of October in Berlin. And then it goes on from Berlin to...
To Dubai.
Are they open for the theme?
Oh, that is a good question. That is a good
Just
question.
quickly follow
That
up
is a good
now,
question. I will find out. Yes.
because
am
you are
thirsty,
brave. Yes.
But that would be it.
Yes.
I will find out. Yes. Yes.
Yes, in Dubai. And when roughly in Dubai?
That is next year if it takes place. If at the beginning of the year.
Okay.
Yes.
It's not definitively defined
That's
yet.
a nice question.
Yes. Okay. Yes, dear madam. Thank you very, very much for having the conversation with me. For me, it was a bit difficult because I didn't want to say anything silly. I didn't want to say anything hurtful. I wanted to be appropriate. I wanted to be correct, but I don't really know how to be that because I don't know you that well. And I think it still turned out to be a good conversation. I have learned a great deal about the problem of, yes, a little bit. We went into the issue a little. We can only guess how bad it is to live there and experience these things. And yes, I am all the more grateful that you talked about this issue. May I show your pictures on Instagram, the two we discussed in the publication on Instagram, so the listeners can also see what we've discussed.
Yes. Sure, Betha. Yes, and thank you for the invitation. I know this is difficult for you and for me. Such a topic is also very current now with what happened in Gaza, where my family actually is too. So I am with great hope that it will end soon. and that let all parties be able to live in peace and dignity. Through my arts, I like to show that, and that is actually my goal, to show where we actually stand as humans. Yes, exactly. Thank you again for this conversation. It was enriching for me as well to hear your perspective, how you read it, and my images. And yes, certainly, I would like to, again, if it is possible for you, another one. Super. Yes, thank you, Petra.
What makes the art scene tick? Everything we always wanted to know about art. A podcast by and with Petra Lawson.